folks, and welcome back to the channel. This is episode 32 of my Creation Kit series. Now in this episode I'm going to be redoing my video on mesh mashups. I've learned some things since then that solves some render issues in CK and in the game from doing mesh mashups. So this will be a update on my earlier mesh mashups video. And I will be working exclusively in NifScope Pre-Alpha 5 on legendary meshes. Now, if you're modding for Special Edition, you will need NifScope Pre-Alpha 6. However, to make mesh mashups, you're going to need Pre-Alpha 5. You will need to install Pre-Alpha 5 on a separate drive than you have Pre-Alpha 6 installed, or install it on a flash drive. That's because NifScope works on an XML file, and it will run off of the original XML file that you have installed. And I am using Legendary Edition meshes as I make my mods in the Legendary Edition, and then I port them to Special Edition. So let's get started. Now, you're going to need an assets folder, which I have an assets folder already made for Skyrim Vanilla, the Legendary Edition, for the Vanilla Meshes, and for Dragonborn, Dawnguard, and for Hearthfires. If you do not know how to do that, go back in my playlist and you will find a video on how to make an assets folder. Now, let's look at the mesh that I'm going to be making. Now, I've got the upper shelf 01 mesh. That is the bookshelf that you see in the Hearthfire homes, a lot of the bookshelves that you see in the other player homes and other places. Now, I've retextured this. If you don't know how to do the retexture on mesh, go back in the playlist and you will find a video on how to do that. Let's go ahead and open this shelf mesh up in Pre-Alpha 5. Oh, looky here, I got me a nice mesh for a shelf. Now, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to put a helmet right up here in this upper left-hand corner. So I'm going to open up my assets folder, and I'm going to go into meshes. I'm going to go to the second meshes folder, and then I'm going to go to armor, and I think I'm going to go with an orcish helmet. Now, you're going to want to use, when you're using placing armor into a mesh mashup like this, you're going to want to use the world model. The world model is what you see in game when you open up your inventory, and the picture over on the right hand side, that is what you see for the world model. World models always end in the letters GO or GND. So I'm going to open this helmet in separate instances NifScope. I'm just going to drag it across to my other monitor. I'm going to drop it on my shortcut for NifScope, and I've got my orcish helmet mesh right here. Now, I want to go ahead and I want to click on the BS Fade node. I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to block, and I'm going to push copy branch. And then I am going to open up, I'm going to reopen my mesh for my shelf that is on the separate instance. Now I'm going to click on the BS Fade node right here, and I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to block, and I'm going to paste branch. As you can see, the helmet has appeared right here. Now, before you go any farther, you're going to have to do some renaming on this. So you want to, on this BS Fade node, you want to right click, go to transform, and go to edit. And this is why you use Pre-Alpha 5 to do this, because you cannot rename a mesh on Pre-Alpha 6. You can do mesh mashups, but it says the name has been sanitized, and it totally screws everything up. Better to do it on Pre-Alpha 5. So I'm going to rename this to Helmet. Check. And I'm going to open up this BS Fade node, and I'll see a knee tree shape here. I'm going to want to rename that. And I'm going to rename this to Helmet 01. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to close that BS Fade node up. I'm going to click on it again. I'm going to go to transform, and I'm going to go to edit. Now, for your translation, Z is up and down, X is left and right, and Y is back and forth. So I want to move it all the way up, and it looks like, I'm going to say 121 ought to about do it. Because I want to make sure that it doesn't clip down through the bottom of the shelf. That looks good. Now I want to move it over off center here, and for your rotation, R is to rotate it around its axis this way, and then the rest of it is rotating in different directions. So I'm going to say about 130, maybe 135. There we go. Yes, that looks excellent, just like that. And I can see that there's a little bit of space there, right? So I'm going to drop this down to 120, but as you can see, it clips through here on the bottom of the shelf. We can fix that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight this number here, and I'm going to change that to an 8. The clipping's gone on the bottom, and it looks more lined up. I'm going to push accept on that, and that looks good. Now I'm going to want to add a little something else into this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out the NIF of the helmet. I'm just going to close that out. I don't need it. And I will go back to my assets folder, and I'll go to meshes, and I think maybe I want to do something with the clutter here. And I don't know, maybe we'll do Daedric. What do we got here? The Azura Star. That's a good one. So I will go ahead and I will open this in a separate instance of NIFscope. And same process as before. You really don't have to rotate it around. All you have to do is copy the branch, block, copy branch, and I'll open up my shelf that I'm working on right here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save it as it is so I don't lose anything. And I want to click on it, right click, and paste branch. Now I have that right there. Now same thing as before, I'm going to want to change the name of it. So right click, go to transform, go to edit, and I'm going to rename this to Star. Just like that. I'm going to open that up, and you'll see that I have another one here that I need to rename, and I'm going to rename this to Star 01. That's fine. I'm going to close that BS fade node. I'm going to right click on it, go to transform, go to edit. This is where you place it, and I can tell just by the look of it that it's probably going to be a little too big, so that's okay. So I'm going to go about 124, and I'm going to rotate it around probably 90 degrees. Right, as you can see, it's going to be a little bit too big. So I'm going to want to change the size of it. Now this is a little tricky. You want to go ahead and go here, and I'm going to push 8. You can see it gets a lot bigger. It's at 1.8, and I'm going to make that 0. I'm going to make that a 0. So that's going to be a 0.8. That's fine. That looks like it might work. And now in the rotation, the P makes it rotate around like in a circle right there. Yeah, that's looking like it might be just about right. I'm going to want to tilt it back, because obviously it's not going to be just standing up there. I'm going to tilt it back, and it looks like 20 will about do it. Now I want to move it backwards until it looks like, so that it looks like it is leaning up against the back of the wall. That's great. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move that over a little bit, and that is good right there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save that mesh. All right, that's pretty much all there is to doing mesh mashups. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mash this up and finish it by all the stuff that I want to put on the shelf, and then I will continue from there. Now, if you put something in, like I'm putting Tolfdir's Embellic in as my third piece, I'll open this up. As you can see, I got quite a few different tree shapes, and I have a, I believe that says BS ordered node. So I am actually going to want to change that as well. You want to change the names of all these tree shapes. These all have to be different names. Now, as you can see, I renamed all these and I got them just rigged with the numbers after them. That's fine right there. So I'm gonna want to go ahead and move it, and this is just like before. You just move it with the translation here like that. So I'll go ahead and continue cluttering my shelf here, and I will continue when I'm done. Okay, so I've got my mesh mashup done. As you can see, I added some potions, I added some books. These books is were all one mesh. This is from a housing resource. I just copied that in there. I got a drum, I got a flute, I got a clothes iron, and I made my own mesh mashup of a scroll stack. That's all one. That's from a mashup that I made just explicitly for this. And let's go ahead here, and then you can see that there is a barrel, is a bucket, and a little shovel, you know, for like kids' toys. And then I got that there, and then I got the curious silver mold that I added in, which actually needs to go ahead and be moved down. This is, and you want to keep going back and checking and make sure for everything here. 18 might be a little high. Yeah, it's just a little high. So we're going to go to 17, and then I'm going to make it 17.5. That looks good, and it needs to go in like that, and that ought to be good. So that is my mesh mashup for my merchant's display shelf. It's all stuff you might actually find a merchant selling, with maybe the exception of the star, but that might be a high-priced item. But it's all stuff that a merchant might sell. So I'm going to go ahead and we are going to put this in game. Make sure that you save your mesh. And now what we want to do is we want to take our mesh and we're going to rename it and stick it in our folder for our mod. And this is the mesh right here that we've been working on, and I'm going to rename that to my naming convention, which is 00RLB, and I will call this Shelf Display Merchant. And that will be right there. Now we're going to go ahead and we are going to put this into Creation Kit. So let's go ahead and open up Creation Kit. Wait, I'm sorry. First we have to put it in our mod folder. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up my data folder, and I'm going to go into meshes and my Pagamod here, and this would be considered furniture. Now it might be different for you. You might have it just something else. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste this in. It's better to do this part before you open Creation Kit, because if you do it after you open Creation Kit, then you have to use the F5 to refresh the window screen, or otherwise you get the diamond with the exclamation point in it. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Creation Kit now. Okay, I have Creation Kit open, so in the object window in the filter, I am going to type 000, and I'm going to click on all, and what that will do is it will load everything up that starts with 000, which means all of my records for my mod. Okay, we got that all up. Now I'm gonna make a static object, so it doesn't really matter which static object that I duplicate. So I'm gonna duplicate this one, and it takes a second. Just let it do its thing. All right, that's taken care of. Now I'm going to rename this, and I'm gonna look down here, and I should have some shelves. So yeah, I'm gonna want to rename it. And I'm going to rename this one to Shelf Merchant I guess I should spell it right, huh? Merchant, and then I'll make display all capitals so I know what it is. When it says create new object, push no because it's a duplicate, then push yes because you are sure. And then you go ahead and double click on it and open the file, and you will see the model right here. Click on edit, click on edit again, and I'm going to need to go to my furniture, and this is my display shelf right here. And it'll tell me that it's missing because of Tolfer's Embellic. It's missing a backlight map. That's fine. There is our merchant display shelf. Okay. Now I will go to my interior cell that I'm working on for House of Paga, and I usually ignore and yes to all on the errors. It's not really a big deal unless it's a text missing texture. And we are going to go over here, and this is my crafting room here, and where my merchant has his little counter, which he sells stuff like that Giant's Club and different things. Actually, that's not the merchant's counter. That is the blacksmith counter. The merchant's counter is right over here. So this is my merchant's counter. He sells some stuff. He sells some stuff too. And I'm gonna want to go ahead and find my mesh for my shelf that I just made. Merchant display right here. And we're going to go ahead and we are going to drop that right in there, turn that around, and that looks good. Now what I want to do is I want to double click on that. I want to put don't havoc settle, but I also want to add a script to this, because if you don't, sometimes stuff will fall over. So click add on your scripts. You'll probably get this, just yes to all. That'll come up, and in this push, type in default disable, and you want default disable havoc on load, and then click on that, then click on properties, and you're going to want to highlight each one, click edit value, and so it sets it to false. And that means that will lock everything into place, and everything will stay where it's supposed to be. Let's take a look at it. I actually might want to go ahead and move it back just a bit. There we go. And yeah, I'm gonna want to have like a chair over here, so I'm gonna want to move the whole mesh over to here. I want to move the whole piece over to here. That'll give me room for a little table and stuff, and a chair with a little ledger and all that good stuff. Stuff merchants might have. That looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save the mod. All right, it's now saved. Now I will see you in game as I'm going to show you that it works. Okay, here we are in my mod. Let's go ahead and run on down. You guys get a little preview of what I'm working on. I haven't got nothing done in the hallways. The only thing I've actually done is I've worked on the main hall and I've worked on the crafting room. So we'll go into here and we'll go into the crafting room and we'll go find our thing here. Oh, look at there. And it works perfectly as I assumed. I'm probably going to want to move this light here that's right here over so I can light this up a little bit. But yeah, that's all there is to it. Alright guys, this has been episode 32 of my Creation Kit series. Remember guys, if you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and share it on social media as it really helps out the channel. And until next time guys, remember to keep your sword sharp. Don't be a milk drinker. And always watch the skies, traveler.